Government and Policy and the course director of our MSc program in Social Science of the Internet. So to everyone in the room and online, welcome. We're really happy to have you here. And it's my honor to introduce Elaine Ford for her talk on how AI is shaping the future of digital democracy. Elaine is a visiting policy fellow here with us, and she's also the director and founder of Democracia Digital, based in Lima, Peru. Sorry, there's a lot of things, so I have to read off the paper here. Former president of Internet Society Peru, a member of the steering committee of ISOC Chapters Advisory Council, has won a large number of awards and also written a couple of books, most recently, Digital Technologies and Elections in Peru. And so for your awareness, this event is being recorded and will be posted online on our website following the event. And yeah, 30-40 minutes of presentation, and then we'll have the rest of the time for questions and discussion. With that, I would hand it over to you, Elaine, and thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good evening and good morning to many who are connecting online from Latin America. I am grateful to the Oxford Internet Institute for the opportunity to give this talk and share more about the work I do at Democracia Digital, an organization that I founded 11 years ago in Lima, Peru, and which today promotes projects and initiatives throughout Latin America. Its mission is to promote the responsible use of internet, as well as digital and emerging technologies, and of course also to alert about the risks and prevent them. No, Democracia Digital, that's our main logo. And in these years, we have developed almost 20 lines of action, including awards, observatories, training schools, training programs, awareness campaigns, among others. Here I show, for example, well, the main website, one of our awards for Latin American countries, Spanish-speaking countries. You can, of course, get into those websites. And those awards for national in Peru, the National Award in Peru on Digital Democracy and Latin America, allow us to build these observatories for Peru, this is our map, and for Latin America, well, you can see all the Spanish-speaking countries. We have identified at the moment almost 1,000 good practices on digital democracies. That is, they are in different areas, related to democracy, to policy, to governability, to environment, to gender, and to different first for cultural, social issues. So it's very interesting, and I invite you to give a look to this, because this is what we promote: how to use the technology for good. And in recent years, these are some other initiatives that we have developed in these years. For example, this for AI, this was launched last year. For women tech leaders, we have a community where women engage. We create a training school for civic servants and political actors to train them about different topics related to digital issues. And we also have this line of action to train regional and local government, the authorities, the mayors, the governors in different parts of the country. No? And as well, in the last years, we have developed a line of publications and research where we publish some books. I am the author of some books, but as well, we participate as co-authors in other kind of projects with different partners throughout Latin America. And you can download them. They are in PDF for free in our website, so I invite you to visit them. Some of them are in English. Yes, I think there's a couple of them in English, so maybe you can look at them in our website, that is democraciadigital.pe. So in the year 2019, I published my first book. And this is the book. I brought one hard copy. Here's the book. Also, it's in the website, of course. And the name is The Challenge of Digital Democracy Towards an Interconnected Citizenship. This book was launched in Lima at the International Book Fair, and then at the Internet Governance Forum, IGF, in Berlin that same year. And also, fortunately, it was presented as well in Santo Domingo, in República Dominicana, in Panama City and Mexico City. And this book, it has been very useful because it is an introductory and easy to understand book that explains what is digital democracy and include 4 main chapters, no? Yeah, among them, those related to digital citizenship and issues related to politics, electoral campaigns, and government. When people ask me, what is digital democracy? My answer is this. It is putting the internet and technology at the service of citizens and society to strengthen individual rights and freedoms and to favor the process of modernization and innovation in public entities. But we also know in our countries what is the digital transformation, transformación digital, no? And that's one of the main lines. So out of the wide range of rights, the most related to the digital environment are mainly citizen participation, freedom of expression and opinion, freedom on association, and therefore we also talk about e-participation and e-deliberation. Almost 5 years has passed since we launched this book, no, but we must say, and that's my main concern, that in the last 18 months, we have experienced a new technological revolution worldwide, and of course in Latin America, due to the launch of generative artificial intelligence and the various tools that have been created with a high, rapid, and efficient cognitive capacity. This new AI combines the use of data and algorithm to imitate human behaviors, learning, decision-making, reasoning, and problem-solving, for example, no? So these emerging technologies undoubtedly have great potential and multiple benefits for society. There is no, we don't think nothing about that, no? We agree that of its great potential. But we know that they also bring new risk or intensify situations that were already a threat to democracy and social coexistence. So my interest now with this talk and during my time in Oxford is to analyze this impact that we're beginning to see, both positive and negative from the use of AI. In other words, what is the new form that digital democracy is taking with the use and development of emerging technologies in Latin America? And my analysis will cover 3 main areas, as I mentioned: citizenship and digital rights, political parties and elections, and governments and public policies. But to start with this, it is important to talk about the context, no? The context, how are things going on in Latin American countries? For this analysis, it is especially important to consider as a starting point the context in Latin America. Societies in Latin America are increasingly enjoying greater connectivity, but democratic governance is facing crisis. In other words, democracies in Latin America are unfortunately not at their best moment, as various studies and index indicate. So we can see, for example, here in these figures and these tables, that according to the recent democracy index by the Economist, less than 8% of the global population live in a full democracy, only 8%, while nearly 40% live under authoritarian regimes. You know, in Latin America, we know that these mostly authoritarian or totalitarian regimes are Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. You know? Of the 177 countries included in the index, 34 are under hybrid regimes. And this includes Peru, for example, my country, and other Latin American countries. Central America, for you to know, is experienced the greatest regression in the past year. And additionally, the report confirms that it's the 8th consecutive year of democratic decline in Latin America and the Caribbean. So this really concerns to us. You can see here the map of Latin America. And well, there are some countries in this category, and some of them are hybrid regimes. And of course, some are fluid democracies, no, but none of them is a full democracy. Yes, except I should say Uruguay and Costa Rica. So here you see this table. And you can see here that the average of the whole region, no, is in this category of hybrid regimes, no? So that is really a great problem and something to be concerned about. So also the recent Latino Barometro, that is another study that is very recognizing Latin American countries. The last one of 2023 described the decline and vulnerability that the countries in the region have reached after a decade of continuous and systematic deterioration of democracy. For you to know, satisfaction with democracy reached only 28%. And here you can see the figures, no? 28%, and these have come the line in the last years. No, and about the countries, it's really worry about to say that only El Salvador, later we talk about this, El Salvador is the country with the high satisfaction with democracy at 64%. Now, it is followed by Uruguay and Costa Rica. And at the bottom of the list, there are 6 countries where satisfaction with democracy is below 20%. And these are these 6 countries: Colombia, Ecuador, Panama, Paraguay, and Venezuela. And Peru, by country, unfortunately, is only 8%, the only country with one single digit. No, this is terrible, you know, the situation we've been living in the last years. And let's hope things change. So, as you can see, these last countries, all these countries are fertile ground for the growth of populism and authoritarianism, where citizens have lost hope in the good performance of their governments. Another crucial element is all about trust. You know, in 2020, Latin America and the Caribbean show low levels of institutional trust, and that means they don't trust in the national government, they don't trust in the judicial system, they don't trust transparency of elections and the military. And this has been the lowest in the world. No trust only is about 40% according to the Gallup World Poll. Of course, these figures undermine the political system and affect democratic governments as well as the legitimacy of authorities. And by the other hand, we face a region that today enjoys greater connectivity and a higher number of digital users. This means, I will show here, and you can see Latin America, how are our different regions. And this means that there is a greater access to the internet, higher number of digital users, increase the use of social network, new digital and emerging technologies, higher consumption of smartphones, tablets, computers, and more technology. And that's, of course, very important for us. Now, for this digital era, as you can see, it can change in the sub-regions, but mostly they are highly connected. But this same region faces political crisis, democratic instability, citizen insatisfaction, loss of trust in institutions and authorities, disaffection towards traditional political parties. And I think that these two elements, these two scenarios about the connectivity and about this political crisis is an explosive combination. And we can see now why. In recent years, we have witnessed the benefits that the internet and the digital and emerging technologies offer. From Democracia Digital, we always try to show all these benefits and show these good practices with the use of the internet. But at the same time, they have also appeared new risks in the digital area with severe effects, no? For example, during times of pandemic and elections, or important democratic processes such as referendum, for example, in Latin America, online practices that undermine democratic principles have intensified. Although solutions or actions have been thought to prevent them, it is not an easy or quick task and requires a collective action from multiple stakeholders. Today, the alarm is raised with the increase, of course, of the generative artificial intelligence tools. So now we can see, we will start to analyze each of these three areas that we want to talk about in these talks. And as I said at the beginning, there are three main areas. One of them is about citizenship under digital rights. So the question is, how can emerging technologies influence citizenship under digital rights? As I said at the beginning, we always try to promote all the benefits, no? We want the most benefits because we feel that technologies, of course, and internet give us a lot of benefits. Like, for example, in the line of citizenship, it promotes e-participation, as I say, e-deliberation, empowerment of citizens, democratization of information, access to public information, oversight and citizen control, co-creation, collaboration, decision-making, development of civic tech, education and training, mass movement and mobilizations, activism. We see more activism in the social media, content verification or fact-checking that nowadays we can do it, no, with the information we receive. I just mentioned these benefits. Of course, there could be much more, and maybe afterwards you can tell me more of them. But the reason we see, it's important to mention them because, as you can see in the table, there are a lot, no, of course, but these risks mainly come from bad practices from citizens and digital users, but also are generated by the governments or political actors. And as well, some risks come from the big techs or the AI development, no, due to its inherent characteristics. So, for example, which are the main risks that I identified? These are online mis and disinformation, the hate speech, social hyperpolarization, filter bubbles and tribalization, use of algorithm for a specific objective, the collection and use of personal data for other purposes, more sophisticated practices to breach cybersecurity, surveillance, control, espionage, blackouts, shutdowns. So I can say that these ones, for example, are risks that are promoted by governments or other kind of factors, maybe political actors, no? And here is because of the use, plagiarism, for example, copyright infringement, that is bias, discrimination, underrepresented population and language, lack of transparency and ethics in a new AI development. And this is more related to the big tech companies that they are who develop and train these new technologies, no? So if risks are exacerbated through AI, which enables greater speed, efficiency, precision, and scalability, the effects can be really serious, no? And as potential risks increase, if this increase, these are threats that we already know, but if this increase, no, democratic practices are undermined, because what we will see then is leading to self-censorship, autocensura, limiting e-participation, affecting the quality of the deliberation and plurality of ideas, intensifying hate speech, reducing civic space and freedom of expression, participation, and mobilization. And then what will happen is more intolerance, more manipulation, more distrust, more cyber insecurity, more aggression. We've been living that, and that could be increased. So if these risks are controlled and minimized, I think that it will allow that the benefits will maximize. No, if this is minimized, the benefits for our society and for our democracy will maximize. And that's why where we must go through. Next, the second question was about how can emerging technologies influence political parties and elections? So here the same. I identify the main benefits that we can see nowadays. More transparency can give us more transparency, more accountability. Party building and training for political parties is so important nowadays. Decentralization, because in our countries in Latin America, we used to be very centralized in the main capital, and we should move towards the regions and other cities in the country. More efficient and political campaigns, message segmentation, volunteer mobilization, strategic communication to disseminate ideas and proposals that is very good for political, and for, of course, electoral process monitoring. Those are the benefits. Of course, there could be much more. Then you can tell me about that. And the risk that we identify and that we've already lived and experienced, that is all about mis and disinformation, false narrative, fake news, fake audio fakes. Of course, this with AI could be severe, no? High political polarization, emergence of populism. Each time we see more populism. Fragmented societies, extreme segmentation affecting privacy, hatred, aggression, disqualification, incitement to hatred and insurrection. We've seen with some presidents, some elections, in some cases. Use of algorithm, bots, avatars, chatbots, and other tools for political manipulation. Gender-based violence against women politicians. And this is a reality we face, we've been facing. And as I said, with the AI, with the characteristic of AI, maybe this could go further and be a serious problem. It is usually during electoral process that disinformation increases considerably, reaching levels where the authorities and the electoral bodies are questioned and accused of fraud. This happens in our countries in the last years. We have seen this frequently in the recent times. And also we've seen that fact-checking committees from different levels, from different kind of organizations, private, civic society, even from the electoral bodies, they have created fact-checking committees to try to reduce this problem. And today in Latin America, ideological political forces at the extremes, both left and right hand, stand out. We see those extremes. The trend that we have observed is that the political centers, ideological, are increasingly fading from the political extreme. Where we see this extreme from the left-hand side and from the right, you know, and are the leaders of the far left or right who attract this discontent of the masses and offer the untenable. We've seen this in the last years with the latest leaders we had in the region. And moreover, this new populism uses strongly the web and the digital spaces to gain more supporters and followers using a fluid and challenging rhetoric and narratives against the status quo, which heightens emotions and sharpens polarization among the population. Political polarization on social media becomes aggressive, offensive, and does not contribute to maintaining respectful, tolerant deliberation. It disregards the democratic culture, and there is no self-regulation anywhere. The politicians who expect, at least they self-regulate themselves, what they say about, but the aggression is everywhere. Just to have an idea, in the recent elections we had in some countries in the region, Peru, Colombia, Ecuador, the hashtags on social media, especially the trending topic, were very aggressive, such as, for example, Congress of misery, traitor, liar, the worst government in history, coward, and this kind of words, so aggressive, so violent, are used because polarizations, take us to this scenario. Also, it is interesting to see that in Latin America, many of our current leaders conduct politics during campaigns and once in government through social media. No? And from the conservative right, we have the most emblematic experience of 3 Latin American presidents. For example, I will go fast now. Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil, who was the president, most of you maybe know him. He starts warning about fake news and online disinformation, and what the Superior Electoral Court of Brazil who took measures about this to counteract his actions. Nayib Bukele has recently been re-elected with 85% in El Salvador, but he's considered to lead an authoritarian regime. But we see at the beginning that El Salvador is one of the countries who are most satisfied with democracy because they have this kind of leader, authoritarian leader. He's young and he always used social media since his political campaign to start to build his figure and attract, of course, followers. Javier Milei in Argentina won the elections last November, and he is a very controversial and confrontational speech. He always uses this kind of a speech towards traditional politicians. Nowadays, he spent 3 hours a day in X interacting with his follower where he built his media image. And well, from the left hand, we have other kind of presidents in Mexico, Colombia, and Chile who have disseminated narrative to justify actions or validate their measures, or even to support other lefty leaders. So as these figures at the beginning show, the fragility of our democracies and their institutions opens the way for the emergence of outsider, pragmatic, populism, and authoritarian leaders who could find opportunities in emerging technology for their ascent and the permanence in power. No? So now we go to the last, and I will ask you for 5 minutes more, if it's possible. How can emerging technologies influence government and public policies? So the benefits we identify are a lot of them, of course. Innovation, modernization, all about efficiency, analysis and monitoring of management and public policies, digital transformation, citizen services, transparency, open data, accountability, of course. They can build more mechanisms of consultation and citizen participation, process of collaboration in public policy design, digital inclusion, accessibility, training and updating knowledge for public servants, alerting and identifying truth. Boundaries, of course, are all about authoritarianism, surveillance, control, espionage, blackout shutdowns, corruption, reduction of civic space, government propaganda, indoctrination, automation risk, inequality in public policy implementation, AI, according to the budget. Not all the regions have the same budget, all the local governments, and of course, excessive regulation. And we'll see now why. No? From the area of government and public policy, we have seen that in Latin America, governments are generally moving towards digital transformation processes, with connectivity policies and internet access where a large percentage of the population are already connected, as we see in the figure I mentioned at the beginning. Some countries have also passed laws to promote the use of AI and have even adopted national strategies for its use and development in various fields. Some of these countries, for example, are Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Peru, Mexico, and Uruguay. However, there are some recent situations to consider. There is a political instability and the weakness of governments often bring about authorities and public officials who lack of adequate training in technological matters, and they are very unfamiliar with the digital ecosystem. This gives us a big problem because this leads to an excessive regulation and bureaucratization. Also, through our experience, we know that the design of public policies with technological focus to provide services to the population, facilitate procedures, provide information, open data, depends mainly on the political will of authorities and senior officials. And not all of them, unfortunately, have this will. No? Also, the high distrust in democracy could allow the emergence of populism, authoritarian leaders, both from left and the right hand, who can take advantage of emerging technologies to stay in power and silence the big masses of people. And that is a great concern. So to end up now, some conclusions and final ideas to share with you are that you can see that these three main areas that we've worked today, they are very interconnected, no? They are closely interrelated and are citizens, voters, and individuals who are at the center of everything, either the party, government public policy. No? Finally, voters, individuals, civilians, and citizens are the same. So they are, and that's why these areas are completely connected. We've seen also that this year is an election year at a global scale, with more than 60 countries holding elections. Therefore, it is important to be attentive to their process and results. It is necessary to identify those bad practices, to be very, not to take care of that, and highlight, of course, those good practices. Emerging technologies, including generative AI tools, present us new challenges with great potential, but the risks are also increasing as we face rapidly changing to new scenarios. No, the technology moves fast, and we are continually trying to face these new risks, these new challenges. As I say, as the risks are minimized, the benefits for our society will be maximized. If we reduce those risks, no, then we will maximize the benefits, and this, of course, will strengthen our democracy, the principles of our democracy. But the question is, how do we minimize those risks? That's the hard question. But based on our experience in different areas, it is necessary to have a collective action. And this means the collective action of all stakeholders, governments, no? Citizens, civil society, technology corporations, academia, and the technical community is very important to be there. In Latin America, these new technologies are adopted. This is important for you to know. That is that they are not developed or trained on a large scale in our countries. Many countries do not yet have enough human talent or skills in areas such as robotics or computer science, for example. So we usually adopt this technology from other parts of the world. Consequently, it would be necessary to learn from other regions, understand their best practices, standards, and norms to guide us in building a reliable, free, and democratic digital environment. Finally, one way to support the fragile democracies in Latin America is through the responsible use of digital and emerging technologies and by harnessing their potential. This can be a great counterbalance to strengthen our democratic principles. So that's it. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Elaine, for the great presentation. I will moderate the questions and discussion. I have one from online to sort of kick it off. And they were asking, in Latin American countries, how transparent are political parties currently about their use of technology, for example, in marketing and advertising? What information is available and how is it being used?
We don't know exactly how political parties use, but nowadays what we know is that big tech as Facebook have different actions about the ads that they use, that politicians use. You know, all these ads must be registered the one who pay for these ads. And then all this goes to a special bank for 7 years, where then any citizens can go and check who paid for that advertisement, who paid for that ad. So what we know is what the big tech the actions they have taken that facilitate this kind of information.
Interesting. Yeah.
My question is in two parts.
Yes.
First, is there a regulatory body that regulates AI, the use of AI in Peru?
Yeah, that's one question.
The second question is, if I'm sure we're all old enough to have witnessed the Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky issue. If it was today, some Clinton followers would say it is a deep fake, right? So are there any mechanism in AI to debunk deep fake from reality?
Yes. Well, about Peru, we were one of the first countries in the region that we passed a law promoting the use of AI for different purpose for the development of the countries. But it was a very generic law, no? That yes, it make a conceptual definition about AI and how we should use it. But there are no specific lines about how we should develop these, in which areas, and more focus in for example, in the AI, generative AI. We also have a national strategy that has been approved recently, but I think we should move faster to this. Peru in the private sector are using AI. They are using some time ago. But in this area of democracy, of citizenship, I think it is necessary to have other kind of approach, other kind of norms and guides in how we should move, especially political parties and authorities in government. And the second question about the fakes, yes, possibly, you are completely, I agree with you that maybe nowadays people should say, or would say, this is deep fake with this video. You published an article in these days, I think, about this topic, because I think as AI is becoming each time more sophisticated, it would be more difficult not to notice
The difference.
to differentiate the truth from what is not truth. And I think that's one main risk, no? As AI becomes more sophisticated, this will be very difficult. And not only the fakes, audio fake, all kind of fake news. You know, fake news is very difficult to tackle because usually we don't know who is behind this fake news. No, it's very difficult to know who is behind this fake news, but we can know who is because we know who is sharing this fake news, who is sharing this content. So that could be a clue for who is trying to protect. No, that's it.
I think there's a question online and Ellen is somewhere and we'll let them speak. I have no idea where the voice will come from. But I assume somebody will start asking a question now. And if they don't.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Hi, this is Dr. Sumit Bhattacharya. I am from India. So I really had fun and appreciating the presentation made by you, Ms. Ford. It was really eye-opening and really nicely done. Rather than putting my things in form of a question, what I would like to contribute here maybe is in two parts. One is that how the present technology, as you say, the future of digital democracy, the problems such as how they encourage and the risk that they run while there are conflicting rights which are generated. That is, say, uh, there is in all of the democracies, you would always find that there is a right to information or transparency which is being embedded as constitutional rights, and here in India, even raised to the level of fundamental rights. And opposing to that, the technology poses severe questions such as a right to be forgotten or right to be erased, which are the derived rights from the personal or privacy rights. They generally tend to conflict, is one thing. Second thing is about jurisdiction. Suppose we had a case over here wherein there was a defamatory remark being uploaded on the internet by somebody from the United States. And this remark was about some sitting judges, and this was considered defamatory as per the regulations of India. But when the service providers were being asked to pull down the record because internet doesn't have a geopolitical kind of governing body, so such remarks were not being pulled out due to the simple reason saying that the servers are in California, which are not regulated by Indian laws. And to top it all, what might be considered as a defamatory kind of a remark was falling squarely under the freedom of speech and expression under the American soil. So these are difficult territories of jurisdiction which AI and the forging technologies pose. And one more thing I wanted to put forward as a best practice, since you were talking about Peru, but you seem to be collecting the best practices. I would just like to put a couple of facts before you. One is that there is something called Unified Payment Interface, which is otherwise known as UPI in India. And as far as the 2024 April data is concerned, it has integrated 581 nationalized banks, affecting 13.304 millions of connectivity, your money. So that kind of financial fintech transactions are being, as of now, done in India, which means that access to internet, which is close to 50% and more than 50%, in fact, in India, has also enabled digital democracy. So this can be a good point to consider if, as and when you are talking about taking and considering best practices. I know it went a little long, but I thought that if this would be of any value to your reading, I rest my case here.
Thank you very much for the comment online, and maybe we take a question or two from the room if anybody has one. If not, I also can go. Eli, yeah.
Thank you. Super interesting. I've worked a lot on elections, so my question will, in one part, focus on that. And it's really like elections have been impacted by disinformation, hate speech, and harmful content. We kind of know that that space exists around AI, but regarding AI, is there any other place of elections in kind of your area of study that have been impacted by AI outside of the harmful content space? So is AI being used in elections? Is it impactful, or has it not really been integrated yet?
Yes, well, as I said, this year is an important year. It's an election year. So we must see carefully how things are moving. We know the use of AI in, for example, the use of algorithm, that this allows the information, the content, sometimes this kind of content that is false, move faster and with reaching more number of people, and this kind of effect, of course, so the impact would be more serious. And we know about more deepfakes, more audio fakes during the messenger or these applications of messaging. And each time it is using more, no? So we must be aware of how things are moving, how these are using. We know nowadays that they are using chatbots. For example, you remember some weeks ago about this audio that was disseminated with the voice of Biden, telling people not to go to vote. Well, these kind of actions, of course, are used by new technologies, emerging technologies as well. So maybe these kind of actions will increase in the following month, in the elections and in the process that we will have in the following month. I think the U.S. election will be very important for us to know how things, new technologies are using and how the impact they can have and which ways, the use of chatbots, the use of avatars, the more use of audio face and deep face, more sophisticated, and the reach of this kind of information, this fake news, this disinformation is one of the main concerns because it can reach millions of people in just a second. So we must be very careful. Nowadays, most of the worldwide people is connected. Only 1/3 of the population in the world is not connected already. Yeah.
There's a question online, and I can combine this one with my question as well. And so Ruben has written that in Mexico, they're in the middle of the electoral process that's going to end on June 2nd.
Yeah.
And do you think that digital democracy and AI is a major concern for politicians? And I would add to that, because I have a PhD student who's studying digitalization and politics. In Latin America, in Peru, are people talking about digitalization, about AI as a political issue in the sense that they might vote for a candidate who's better on, digital stuff? Are they actually caring about it, or is it more they're using it to, for example, improve their campaign odds or something like that?
They are starting to care about. It's something new for all of us. We already have experienced disinformation, misinformation, all about the fakes. But nowadays it could be worse, So I think the alerts are now more focused on what could happen during this time of elections. I was invited to Mexico to give different kind of conference about how can this could be used during the process, And I think authorities and even citizenship is more aware about this risk. For example, in Brazil, during the first campaign of Jair Bolsonaro in the year 2018, the levels of disinformation, mis and disinformation was really high. So high that the Tribunal Superior Electoral started to take actions about that, as a countermeasures to try to tackle this problem. And afterwards, in the second election we have last year, that it was Jair Bolsonaro, where Lula also and the follower of Jair Bolsonaro. I think also there was, of course, this misinformation in high levels too, and different and sophisticated platforms used for this purpose. But citizens were more aware about this information because we have done for some years a lot of work trying to create awareness, trying to educate, trying to train about how citizens should react if you receive some kind of content or fake news or any kind of disinformation message. We know now that people should try to make its own fact-checking, seeing the sources, checking sources, checking date, checking sometimes the website and other kind of issues that are so important. From Democracia Digital, for you to know, we have created a lot of material, campaigns, awareness campaign of sensibilization. And all this material, all this content is audiovisual. We post several videos, not only for Peru, but for Latin America, showing examples of how people should react when they face this kind of content, when they face disinformation, fake news. And we, of course, disseminate all this content, and we gave different kind of training. We have published guides, manuals, decalogues, training people. No? So I think nowadays people know more about how to face and how to treat this kind of disinformation. Also, not only in elections, but for example, in the pandemic, I think during the pandemic, the whole world faced for first time such a big level of disinformation that in that case, it was a problem for security and for safety of people. No, it was really a high problem. So many authorities all around the world develop different actions, different plans to try to face this problem in the best way. And that's why I always said that this kind of problem is not easy, it's not fast, it's not a magical formula to give a solution to it. It needs a collective action where all multi-stakeholders have to participate, even us, even all of you, even all of us, where governments, public sector, private sector, so civil society, academia, community networks, community should have a solution to it, should try to support and try to give a good solution, no? Especially, of course, the big tech who have a high responsibility in all this, and we always are asking to them to give more solutions to this huge problem, the problem that we think they are the main the main responsible, no? So
sorry.
yes,
If
sure.
I may clarify from you, and the last internet, is the question is about your PhD student and the online. Were you trying to say that if candidate A is more AI savvy, would it be a better sell for the president? For instance, let's say Biden or Trump is better in AI. Do you think it will affect the electorate? Was that what you were trying to say?
No, the point is that, for example, if you think about political manifestos at the moment, they might talk about economics, they might talk about healthcare and education and these sort of bigger themes. But what the student is looking into is how much is digitalization coming into this now? So are political parties actually talking about, and I think you see this, for example, there are political parties, I know in Europe that are doing this. I would assume in South America as well that you'll start to see it. But I unfortunately have to say that we're out of time. And so we have no more time for questions, but thank you again for giving the talk. It was really interesting. And thank you everybody online.